footsteps cracking along the wooden floor, loading to my bedroom. I hear them sniffing the air. He is in the room, there said one of them. It was a masculine voice, full of strength and detachment. Come out, we smell you from outside. I slowly raised my head above the bed to take a peek at them. Two men in black clothes, pale as ghosts. I clutched my knife and waited for them to approach. I see the reflection of your blade. You will not be needed dead tonight. We merely wish to speak with you. I lowered my knife. What do you want from me? What are you doing in my question? Won't you offer us a drink? We are guests after all. You're intruders, and I don't give infiltration threats. Get out of your home? Yes, one question. Then we leave, just one. I nodded. I didn't really care what this monster had to say, but if it would get them out of my house, how would you like to end the war? The war? The genocide of human who won't want to. The man smiled, nodding. He clearly read my mind. There is a way to do it, and you are the key. What nonsense. Are you squawking? I'm nobody. Exactly, exclaimed the pale man. All of our kind, unknown, and tabulated in the database. Our kind is heavily controlled and restricted in this day and age. But if we were to add one to the roster, so to speak, you want me to join your insanity? The pale man glanced at his sidekick. They seemed to be sharing a moment. Then returned their attention to me. There will be a certain benefit to you. I perked up, but didn't for 1 second give heed. Immortality for one. You will be unregistered, of course, but that is parcel of our grand scheme. Immortality? Good lord, this guy was crazy. But when he smelled, I noticed his fangs and everything clicked. He was telling the truth, and as mad as it seemed, it was making sense to me. Sign me up, I said. The pale vampire offered his hand to shake, and I took it. He pulled me in further, wrapped his mouth around my neck, and bit into my skin. My face felt cold, my senses heightened, my heart raced. I was now undead, but what was the plan, the grand scheme? You shall find out, and register very soon indeed, said the vampire's voice in my head. Being a vampire felt like born anew. Everything was amplified. I could hear a mouse squeaking under the floorboards. I hear the clock ticking downstairs, and I could smell a single long hair my wife left to the pillow. Earlier this morning, my wife, what will I tell her? Tell her the truth? Said the vampire. You are going to save her. You're going to save them all, but we will be in contact later. Goodbye for now, said the vampire, before they both leaped out of open window and disappeared into the dusky veil of night. I let her go. That's what I always remember. I know, even now, that this is one of those things that won't be easily erased by warmth, meal, and night of sleep. I told myself that it was her or both of us. I wish I could take back. I can't. It's done. It was done the moment I loosened my grip. Time slows. Her hand is still stretched up towards me as she falls. She is crying, but her eyes are locked on me. She screams, her hair flies up to cover her face. She has picked up speed. Time slows. Her hand is still stretching up towards me as she falls. She is crying, but her eyes are locked on mine. She screams, her hair fills up to cover her face. She picks up speed. I'm going to fall. There's panic in my chest. It gives me a stretch I didn't know I had. With both hands on the leash, I pull myself up. My legs are still dangling, but I get my chest above the edge. There's a sound behind me. A crack cuts off the sound of her screaming. I know, I remember that, till the sound she made when she hit the ground. The sound she made when she died. I remember that forever. I scramble the rest of the way up. I step away from the ledge. Do I look? I can't look. I think I can make it back to the trail before it gets dark, if I'm lucky. There'll be people looking for us, but not afraid of being lost in the woods. No, either I find my way back, or I won't. And I starved. It doesn't worry me at all. The only thing that frightens me is what I have to do when I get back. I'll have to let her go again. I've been in that position before, Kenneth explained. Things go wrong, you lose everything, and everyone gives up on you. His boss, Livia, looked the computer screen over again, then back at Ken as he slaughtered against the file cabinets. The tram of other outsides. A past truck left the loading docks. Are you still friends after that? She spoke up cautiously. Your previously situation, I meant. He thought back to that time for a moment, how he'd spent that particular night sleeping in the bus stop outside Union Station. Waking up, move around, and join the small crowd milling. There when things got aggressive. Nah, we haven't talked in a couple of years. Ran into him maybe 3 days ago. Olivia stopped to study his face. Ken quietly scratches his beard while staring at the floor. Somewhere ahead of himself, eyes dead cold, even guys going through it. She thought about the application and whatever Pete will be a good fit for the company. He had a decent records with some middle management work. I'll be easy to work into the job, even since last couple of years. Turnover was very common. People wouldn't stay useless. They felt they had to. Well, I think on it. I take it up with Stefan. He's going to want to go over everything. Makes sense to me. Ken agreed. I can't argue anything for anybody. Just know me. I'll have to work. Right above that, she mentioned 6 months went by about as fast as they do. And to her surprise, the gamble paid off. Pete turned out to be a decent employee. All things considered, not excelling in any real measure yet, but probably periods always tend to be hard on new workers. Nobody wants to take the risk that could get them let go. But she found it interesting. They didn't talk Ken hadn't said much to Pete, other than hello or goodbye, since he was hired. They never interacted except for work, it seemed. She only overheard it one another late night, then early morning she'd pass the break room to pour coffee. Hey, so, Pete mentioned. Thanks for putting in a word for me. The words were strained. There was a hurt that she didn't really understand. Don't worry about it, Ken asked. No, you didn't have to. There was a pause. No, I didn't. Ken said from her angel she could see the corner of his head as he leaned against the corner. I owe you. Pat went on, his voice soft, believing, his eyes and gruffness. Really, I meant that. Ken sighed. Goodness happens, man. He turned to leave, and Livia continued with some busy work. So she wouldn't be noticed. A truck left the depot again, slowly turning in the lot. Hey Ken, Pete called. Yeah? There's a spot down the road that sells dollar pictures. You ever want to come? With the first round on me? Pete promised slowly. The words sounded like they're hurt. Even come out okay. Thanks, Ken measured. I'm good, don't worry. He passed her on his way to the computers to punch out. He knew what it was to be truly alone. You have to be comfortable with yourself. You're the only person you got, wherever you go. There you are. Well, she didn't know what it was like. The warehouse never made Livia feel smaller than it did today. Help him? This is considered helping him? Yeah, are you saying that he won't be great for us? Not at all. I don't understand why giving him a role here will be considered helping him. We need him, and he knows how to run a company. As a former CEO, yes, he would. Are you not worried that he may not want to work for you since outrank him? You know as much as anyone that I won't let that affect me. That's what I said to them. My boss believes that my old friend will have a grudge against me, but it's opposite way around. I hate him. He threw me out of his company and humiliated me when I needed him. I'm in the terrible job because of him, and now he is in with me. It's his first day, and he walks in 5 minutes early. We run through our organization. We've gone over all the duties he will be performing, including the responsibilities assigned to me. After he's shown around, I tell him, alright, now that we've gone over everything, are there any questions? No. He didn't call Mr. Sir. I can tell that he is butthurt after turning to me. Okay, this needs to be complete by 3 o'clock today. I will check on you every now and then to see if you need help. I shut the door and head to my office. Finally, I got to the point where I told others what to do, and I go to screw around. That's what I like to call freedom. Months go by, and I had 10 hobbies that I am knee deep into. The extra time is hardly to start my side business and get paid on the plus side. It won't last forever though. Today I walked into the office. My boss said he wanted to talk to me at the end of my shift. I knew what was going to come. At 5, I walked into his office. My friend's sitting there. His neck is resting on his knee and his arms on the back of the chair. Have a seat, my boss said. We regret to inform you, but we downsizing that wasn't shocking. I knew the day will come. You will receive a generous service package. What's going to happen with Sam? Sam's performing is what keeping him on board. Under your guidance, we hired him for his experience. You'll be the first to call if we have any opening. It was all corporative bullshit. Sam was able to charm his way around with anyone. It wouldn't matter if I said that I was his supervisor leading his success. It won't matter because Sam had a way with people, which I picked up from working with him. Thank you. With that closing statement, I left with my things. It didn't take long for Sam to take my office. He didn't know what I got, an offer to work at his old company while he is busy taking up old news. On my way to trump him. You convinced your company to get me a job? He looked at me incredibly. For the 15th time, yes. But why? Because you're the reason I'm here today. This is a thank you. About 5 years back, I had the perfect life. I was working a cooperative job where I had a decent salary, was married to an incredible woman, and our attempt to getting pregnant through EFF was successful. My wife had a child almost overnight. I lost them all in 3 distinct moments. Kaya had gone to get some groceries, and I was cooking our dinner when after a few hours passed by and she still hadn't come back. I got worried. I called her, only to realize she had left her phone at home. Every second I didn't see her, my heart rate went up a little. Something was wrong. Something was terribly, horribly wrong. I grabbed a hoodie to wear over my crop top. Winter could be cruel, but not as cruel. I'd soon to find out as life and drunk drivers. I was wearing my shoes when the bell rang. Was she home? Nope. Police. Yes, something happened to her. No, she is not okay. Yes, she was in an accident. Yes, she has been taken to the hospital. Yes, you'll go see her. A few hours later, I was informed that our child was dead. Kia was in a coma. You what? I had been informed that I was fired. My incredibly... Okay, I'm exaggerating. My above average corporate job had fired me because they had to cut back on their employees. I couldn't afford to pay the medical bills or loans. Without it, I went to many friends for help. None could. They weren't in the position to help. My insurance home was sold. His bills were paid. Jerry, you know I won't be here unless I absolutely had to, dude. Please, I'm homeless, jobless, and my child is dead. Please. Oh, now you want my help, do you? No. We had once been close than siblings. Now he hates my guts. We had been there for each other throughout our lives. I loved him, but the love he had for me was a different kind. There's a thin line between love and hate. It's true. Any other rejection would have been fine. I would have been there for him, but this time I was the one who rejected him. He grew distant. Then something worse happened. I fell in love with another woman, Kia. This time it was mine, and Kia turned to do something stupid. So when she suggested I cut ties with Jerry and move on, I did. He wasn't invited to the wedding, and I didn't talk to him anymore. When he made an effort, it was met with either lame excuses or just ignored. Then, when she had just gotten pregnant, he and I had a huge confrontation. He wanted to know why I had shut him from my life. I couldn't tell him that I regretted never being able to love him the way he loved me, and now he was slamming the door in my face. Well, I deserve it. I went to the park, cried my eyes out. I spent that night on the park benches. New normal, huh? The next morning I picked myself up, dusted myself off, looked for any work. I found nothing. A week went by, and I had burned through my savings. I ate foods at food donation centers, but never felt safe in the homeless shelters. Feeling more secure in the open park where I had now become friends with the dog who will bark at approaching strangers. After exhausting most of my options, I had an idea. I went to the park management. We could set up a stall at each section of the park and add a few machines to create an outdoor gym. Machines could have coin slots in them, and I will give you a coupon in return, like a fair, but for young gym goers. My idea was refused, but out of pity he offered me a job. I took it. I was made a sweeper. 2 years had passed by. I had been promoted to assistant manager. When the manager left for a better job in a different city, I was anew in charge. I pitched my idea for an outdoor gym again. This time people supported my idea as I was to kiss ass. And the next 3 years, the gym was built, tested, and advertised. The exercise fair was a success. The park was earning well, and it was all because of my idea. Good for me. But life wasn't back to normal. Not even close. I would go to Kia and tell her about my day, read her a bedtime story and leave. Sometimes I felt as though she responded with a facial expression and slight movements. She was recovering. The doctor anticipated a mostly full recovery in about 3 months. Life was okay, and I thought back to how I came here. Had Jerry helped me, I would have never reached this position. I would have probably still been reaching after him. I was happy. I had been saving the past few paychecks to buy back my house. I was making good progress. And so when Jerry came asking for help, I gladly offered it. We all made mistakes that we regretted. You can't stop making mistakes, but you can let go of grudges. You can do your best to be a step closer to the kind person you want to be. And so I did, not hesitate when Jerry asked me for a job. I didn't want to. He was the reason I was here today. He gave me the push I needed, because I would have never jumped off the cliff on my own. And had I never jumped from there, I would have never discovered my wings. Thank you, Jerry. Jesse felt the claws in his heart, the slight raise of his heart rate that always accompanied the thoughts. He felt the dark, smoky tendrils reach from his crotch to his brain, pickling it, easing his conscience into a puddle on ground. It is too late for you. You can be helped. Jesse clung to the hatred, to the isolation, to the loneliness, to the otherness since high school. Now, before, since birth, or even his conscience, as his mother held her belly, feared what it wet between her legs could fast into, scared of trouble, of motherhood, of ease, of neglect. Yet my child numerous does. The fear had eased the family, had more money and time for a new piece of pottery, and Jessie fell by a wayside, and with each passing day the hatred of humanity built up, not specifically at his mother, father, or sister, Angela, but as humans for allowing this to occur, for allowing this shame of an extent of him, for allowing his parents to buy Angela a car for her 16th. Yet, nothing for Jesse. Jesse's father gave him a look and clearly spoke. Don't ask about injustice. Do not question this extension. Jesse never questioned. He hated it instead. Most things, people crowd, surfing, the hot sun and cold sun. His family, Angela, the Chad's species, and the school people who laughed at him. We could feel looked at him, thinking about him as he goes about his life, feeling so much freaking better than him, as he stands the line at the grocery checkout, until Nathan reached back out to Jesse for the first time in a few years, and they were met up. Oh my goodness. And they met up at the bar. Nathan gave him a pitch, laying out a sob story about his manager hiring his darn buddy and letting him go. Jesse was just getting ready to tell him to F off. What if we did? What if we let it go? Forgave this once? Blood flustered to Jesse's face and he excused himself to the bathroom. Cold porcelain filled his hands and he leaned forward into the mirror. The voice continued almost logically. We're gonna try to start again. I mean, at least to some degree. We're gonna try to set it aside. We're gonna help him. How big of a deal would it be to have him sleep on the couch a few weeks? No, F him. F them all. F Angela. F them. Hallway, clothing, Dofu, substation walker, and all the rest of those bastards. F. There won't be your friends back then. There won't be your friends now. Nathan will use you. He will screw you up, spit you out. He will sleep on your couch, make 2 minutes of a conversation a day, and leave in a few weeks. They'll never return or call again. Don't let him crawl out of the window. But we can't go on like this, Jesse. Man, we just can't imagine the future, man. We want a wife, maybe a few pink faces, babies. How can we get there? If we can't forgive one single person, what are we if we can't exhibit one example of humanity? The moment felt drained out of for hours, desperate, occurring for no longer than 1 minute. Jesse drew within leaping distance of forgiveness, of trying to accept that he viewed an entirely huge chapter of his life was simply wrong, or at least not healthy. He was hate his parents. He may hate Angela. He may not be hateful to everyone he ever met, already seeking out the wrongings before even saying hello. Yet, leap across the caving would require the will of another man. A man not so hooked in hatred like a fish, like a pastry nasty curve on a hook resting within the cheeks. Jesse climbed out to the bathroom window to freedom. I pressured to resummon my friends to my manager. As you can see, I told her he's got a lot of experience that you're looking for. He meets all the requirements. He could be a real asset to the company. The manager looked over the resume. He does look very promising, she said. But I'm just curious, wasn't this the same friend that turns you away when you ask him for help? When you were living in the shelter? Yes, I admit it. I already told my manager the story and the manner in which I had been turned away. Not only did I get the door slammed in my face, he made sure that I knew he was glad that I had ended up losing my home and that he was laughing about it. Are you sure he was your friend? The manager asked. He sounds like a jerk. Maybe he was only pretending to be your friend to see how much he can get out of you. And now that you had hit rock bottom, he saw no more use for you. No, that's not it. I told my manager. I never told you about the things that led to my homelessness. I used to be a co-worker, and my addiction was starting to get out of hand. How I managed to cancel it from everybody at work, I never knew, but somehow I did. But my friend knew. He kept telling me to get help, to stop this thing before I get myself in deeper trouble than I already was. He even tried getting me into counseling. He made appointments, but I never showed to him. You're a good worker, he told me, but you can't do this to yourself. If you don't do something, you're going to end up in a bad place. Soon, I had aroused the suspicion of management, and I just outright lied about my situation when they asked me, having no other way to be sure. They scheduled a drug test. I thought I was history. I knew I was going to fail, and because they had scheduled it for the next day, not nearly enough time to get the junk out of my system. But I needed this job. There were other things going in my life. If I lose this job, everything else comes crashing down. I was already in debt before on my payments. My friend knew, and I had to even give me money to pay the bills and the rent. Now I had to ask him for a new favor. I need you to give me a clean urine sample, I told him. I cannot fail this test, don't worry. I'll be able to smuggle it and to pass it off as my own. I know how to do all that stuff. You just need to get me a sample. Help me out of this. One last time. And I promise I'll get counseling and I really work to kick the habit, I promise. Against his better judgment, he agreed. I was able to pass the test, and then bought me some more time, but soon my addiction got the better of me, and it got me to a point where there was just no hiding it. I was fired, and I was evicted shortly after, finding myself homeless, with nowhere else to go. I came to my friend's house. He was angry that I had to let myself get to this point. After all that he had done, he revealed to me how resentful he was about how I was able to continue with this habit, not to mention all of the other mistakes that I had made. And somehow I was able to get away with everything. I never seemed to suffer the constant question. I was always locked out, one way or another, and got away with it. My friend had always told me that he wished he had half my luck, because that was all it would be taking for him to become a CEO. He was glad that I finally get what I was coming to me, and relinquished the opportunity to rub it in my face. I don't blame him for doing this, and maybe it was for the best. This may have been the kick in the ass that I needed to get counseling. I finally kicked my habit. He played it off like he was glad, but I think he still cared, but he wished he didn't. I stopped for a bit before revealing to my manager the reason for my friend's termination. They found out that he had provided the urine sample for my drug test. That's why he was fired. I looked at the manager to see what she thought. She kept her eyes on the resume on the dabble. I only recommended him for the position because he is qualified for it. As you can see, I don't expect you to take anything else into consideration, but I just thought that you should know all this. My manager thanked me and returned to my workstation. I intend to squeeze this man of everything ounce of soul that he had, appearing calm and meditative. I am sorry, but beg your pardon. Care to elaborate? Something concerned? Oh, you see, this man, no, he is no ordinary man. He is devil mistake cast down from the heavens above, providing error of this perfect matrix. We currently inhabit I, standing up from the habits, his desk responsing, his suit and tie. Is there any more to your plan? What exactly do you have in mind to this supporting, sick, twisted soap? Oh, well, you see, I've been around the globe a couple of times to understand that in situations like these, it pays handsomely to play it very wisely. Isaac noticed he's slowly beginning to reel his boss, Oscar's imagination. Please tell me, what next step did you have in mind? Oh, okay. First, whispering. I play this his hopes of a urban friend at a moment of need. Oh, then we play into this narcissism of false praise and promotions, which is when we abruptly swoop the ladders from under his feet. And I have to ask you to leave my office now. I can't stand to hear any more of this buffoonery. Please leave. While you still have a job. Oh, I apologize, sir. Feeling belittled. You're done enough. You know where the door is, Oscar says, as he sits on his desk, back towards Isaac's, observing the parking lot from his second floor corner office. Faint sounds of a door closing. Time travel 101. If you learned anything in this class, I hope you learned that time is a freckle thing. Mess with it and you don't come out the other side as you are. Now, you might have heard several rules of time from your fellow seniors, the most curious of which don't visit Hawking's party. It's not that you can't. Well, you obviously can. Many had tried before you. Now the time to wonder why you haven't heard of any stories about that. You see, when time travel was first discovered, two theories were proven. One, there's only one timeline, and two, there are multiple timelines. Both these statements are true. In short, time is not a universal linear experience. Instead, it depends on the observer. You are each in your own timeline, parallel to each other, but at the same time, you can only move in your own timeline, of which your actions affect your own future. Some now come to question, why does everyone experience the same past if we were in our own timelines? It turns out, when time travel was invented, the very moment it was discovered, something changed in how time operated. As a similar to be double slide experiment, the mere observance of the process affected the outcome for which is recorded. You can back Hawking's party, yes, but does anyone know what will happen if you do so? No, because no one has been recorded for attempting it. The mere fact that there is no records of such an event, even of failures to make contact with Hawking's future, physic that someone to attempt it, thus the question, my dear, now becomes, what happens? Tread carefully, my students. We families has power, we don't use it much, and it only tends to attend itself to one of three of us at a time. When it's there, it's the power of reinforcement. I can see the confused expressions on your faces now. Simply put, if we combine one thing with another, of what thing? Say a sword with another sword, we get a stronger sword. Swords are common in a tiny farming village. I'd only seen them handful of times, adorning merchants that passes through on their way to large towers. So surface it is say swords aren't something we use our powers on. Mostly we work with water. Combine this bucket of water with that one that crops only need half their usual watering. It's only odd concept. It grants you that we make it function. I've always been odd duck in my family. Every time else blesses with the power has wanted to go adventuring at some point in their lives, so they're back up and off they go to seek their fortune. Then, when the adventuring bug has played itself out, they return usually with variety of new scars and some wild stories to tell. But not me. I want to be a farmer. It's all I ever wanted. I enjoy growing plants. I like being able to feed people, and I really find fulfilling in the work itself. My family can't understand it, and they have no problem communicating their feelings, mostly by asking me when I'm going to leave, or if I've decided on what adventure I try to seek out. To shut them up, I've taken to saying soon, or maybe I'll try dragon killing adventure. That won't always send my mother into tears, so I don't use it very often. But lately, There's been whispers in the tavern, rumors of unrest, rumors of war in the south, and increased presence of soldiers. It's disturbing the peace and quiet. Their neighbors had starting to murmurs about evictures or turning their physic into weapons. The whispers even entered my household, muttering about drafts. Our power isn't widely known, but when it comes down to it, there's likely to be someone who remembers my own silver-haired grandfather from when he was young, reckless, who comes to our home and drags him out of bed, who ignores my grandmother's cries of sadness. Someone remembers my aunt when she could still reason and think, when her illness hadn't taken her mind from her, will come to take her guideless, who thinks they know what she can or can do better than her family. And there bound of to be person who remembers my mother, who remembers what a wonderful warrior she had become before the nightmares took over, before the world became terrifying for her, before everything went from wonderful to frightening. Not even who came back from the adventures, came back unscathed. I am the youngest reinforcer and the only one that should take. But in war, no one cares about what is right or wrong should be. They'll come for us all. This is why, since I heard the very first rumor, I have been collecting members through. If you came to see them, all you see is one rebel, one very pebble, the ultimate pebble, if you will. When the rescue comes, I will be ready, and I will defend my family. You there, you take us the owner of this farm. I pushed my head back, squinting at the man who shouted it was a bright day, and the sunlight glaring off his armor like a bolt lightning, slipping a hand into my pocket. I smelled as impatience as I could manage. Sure, can in fact you're speaking to him? What's all this about then? I said, drawing my own words. The more he thought I was just a dumb farmer, the better for me. Taking a few steps close to him, I ran my fingers over the small, smooth object in my pocket. He frowned, walking a little away from his escort, 4 soldiers, and in my direction. Good. He was underestimating me already. I was told there was some magic users in these parts, in this very household. We've come to encourage them to join the army. We need every loyal citizen, especially since our emperor had decided to press for the existence of Cornwall. He paused and tried to keep my patience. Soon, I will strike soon. As he began again, I palmed the pebble and drew my hand casually out of my pocket. So you be a good boy, run along and fetch the sharpers, and we'll be on our way. He attempts a friendly smile, but there was a good deal too much steel in it to smile back. There was a good too many teeth in a smile to be seen as anything but a threat. No, I don't think I'd be doing that. In fact, I think you're the man who should be riding away, sharpest. Listen here, boy. I don't think you understand. Oh no, I understand perfectly. His face turned purple at my interruption, but I continued. I understand that no one in my family is going to fight for a corrupt empire, and that you won't be able to make them. And I understand that I'm going to stop you with this. I held up a pebble, waiting for his face to change again. Consideration, this time with a bit of amusement. Hands dropped to his sword. He chuckled. You're going to stop me with a pebble? I think you spent a little too much time in the sun. Whatever he was going to say next will never be spoken in this life. I had thrown this pebble with all the force in my arms possessed. It passed clearly through this helmet and skull, killing him instantly. As he crumbled to the ground, Phil Horse followed. The pebble, having gone into its heart, felt bad for the horse. With my grin that had too many teeth, I turned to the other men. They were looking at me like they'd just seen a ghost. You should go. If I can do that with a pebble, what else have I got up on my sleeve? Or I paused, watching them, pale, as I put a hand in my pockets, as they reined the horses around the dug, their heels in the glossy flanks. I shouted after them, tell the Empire there will be no draft in this house. If he sends more men, they will die. If he comes himself, he will die. I drew a deep breath, yelling so loud I scrumped my throat. This is my house, and it is protected by me. Only me. Ouch. The words left my mouth while the world remained black. I opened my eyes, visible blurring in a harsh sun, the jackhammering pulse over, migraine rippling through my skull, kept me uncanny and our focus. Water seeped into my boots, and as I kicked my legs, their appearing mirrored in the mud. Hold on a minute. There were no sunlight on Verona, and certainly no mud on the barren rock. I was breathing fine in what was clearly an outdoor and pressure's environment. May watch, read, expected time and date. True, it was clear I was somewhere else. With my mind still hazing, I stood on uneasy legs and observed my surroundings. I had been lying in the middle of a dirt road, puddled from early rainfall. Hoofprints and carrying rut dragged deep into the mud, and the smell of horse poop waffled into my nose. Yeah, that was quite stash right next to me. There were houses on my parents' farm back on Earth, and I spent more than my fair share of time looking at stapling animals simply didn't exist on Verona, which I'll mean synchronized from paste. Was it back on Earth? When I saw the twin moons overhead, low the visible despite blazing sun, oh yeah, I definitely wasn't home. I'd fallen to my feet and my hab somehow had ended up here with a throbbing headache and a face full of mud. Dawn takes stock of her surroundings, trying to understand the events that transpired from a space-age society to the magical world of Ilium, where magic and tradition take center stage. I hear the distraction in my head, another layer of confusion swarming over everything. What was this? Some sort of prank? Reality show? My eyes glazed over my now ruined garters and jeans, and a laser pistol on my hip that united was built to the most remote conditions with a solar charge and reduction circuitry. She heard a sound, clattering of hoovers, as an elegant knight rides down the path with his men at arms. They see her, noting the strict penalty of trespassing and the Royal Wood's death. There was no time to contemplate, no space to hide and spare foolishness. My pistol left its holster the moment my ear picked up hoofed beef. Our distant thunder accompanied by a plume of dust. There were 6 beasts and armored riders. The horsemen slowly as they transferred muddy section of the road. Immediately all heads spun in my direction as I was spotted. Prince Rider is the hand of Sir, the man bound to his mount as they made a haste to the elegant housefest. Adrian, as a cruel lord, knows for his iron fist and use of slaves. Even crown shudders from the tale of his exploits. Yet King Elgin believes a knight is a useful tool in his quite cautious Iliama. The weapon in my hands barreled down the caps, charged a green light, winked below the sights, indicating that it was ready to fire. I hoped it didn't come down to that. Halt! The lead rider showed the voice was muffled by his face helm, and on his bracelet was a seagull of a red dragon. The rest of his armor was polished silver, contrasting the matte black mail of the others. It was clear that it was the man in charge, likely Adrian, according to the voice in my head, stood stock still, waiting silence. Then the 6 horse trotted out, hides the